Hello everyone, Charles Watts here, the Arsenal correspondent at Goal, joining you on Friday. Good Friday, in fact. It's a bank holiday here in the UK, so if you are off, I hope you're enjoying yourself. The sun, for once, is shining, so I hope you're having a very good start to the bank holiday weekend. Mikel Arteta has been talking ahead of that big game for Arsenal on Sunday up at Liverpool. He's just been doing his press conference at London Colney, so we'll go through a few of the things that Mikel has had to say. Jurgen Klopp's been speaking as well ahead of that game. And some interesting stuff from both managers really when it comes to team news. We'll start with Arsenal and Mikel playing a little bit of a game, I would say, in his response to the team news question at the press conference. This is what he had to say: "No real changes with the rest of the players that were injured. We have some hope with one of them who will maybe be able to train, but we'll see." He was then asked, could you name who that person is? And he said no, and then laughed. It certainly hints towards Saliba, you would say, but that is just whether he's. I don't know. It feels like a hint towards Saliba just because of when you go through the other injured players. Tomiyasu out for the season, El Neni out for the season. It's not going to be them. Nketiah maybe, but from all accounts, Nketiah, it was kind of felt unlikely that this was going to be the game he was going to be back for. He is doing better in his recovery. He's stepping up his recovery. I think he's been doing some sort of stuff on the training pitch, but he's not been out of a protective boot too long. So you would think it's not him. And so sort of just having sort of gone through all that, you think, well, it's got to be Saliba, really. So, we'll wait and see. There's still another training session tomorrow before the team head up to Merseyside. They'll spend the night at the hotel tomorrow before the game. So maybe we'll get a little bit more over the next 24 hours or so. But it feels like Saliba, but even if it is, if he hasn't really been training yet, do you throw Saliba straight into the starting lineup at Anfield if he's not really done anything for a couple of weeks? It's a tough one. Rob Holding has done very well, I think, in the two games that he's played so far, but those two games have been at home. They have been against Leeds and Crystal Palace, hardly the best teams in the country. This is different. This is Anfield. This is Liverpool at Anfield. It's just a whole different ball game, really. So you would absolutely want a fully fit William Saliba if that was a choice. It's just an absolute no-brainer. If you've got a fit William Saliba, he starts next to Gabriel 100%. But if you've got a 50% fit William Saliba, 75% fit William Saliba, or 100% Rob Holding, who's played the last couple of games, who's in form, is pretty confident, what do you do? It's a big decision for Arteta to make if Saliba's fit. It might all be hypothetical. He might be playing games, Mikel Arteta. He might be talking about Eddie Nketiah. Who knows? Eddie might have made a miraculous recovery from that ankle injury. So we'll wait and see what happens. Personally, I still think it's going to be Rob Holding and Gabriel on Sunday. I'd be surprised if it's not, but that's not based on any information I have. That's just a hunch that even if Saliba is remotely fit or got a chance of fit, I just think in the intensity of Anfield, you don't put a player in who's not 100% or even close to being 100%. I think that would be quite a big risk. And, there's still a long way to go this season. Yes, this is a massive game against Liverpool. Yes, it could mean an awful lot for Arsenal if they go there and get a result. But there's still 8 games to go. There's still some really difficult games to go. There's still Manchester City to come at the Etihad. There's still St James's Park to go to play an informed Newcastle side who are chasing Champions League football. Do you want to take too much of a risk on Saliba now and risk doing damage that could end up seeing him miss those games? So you've got to weigh it all up, I think. It's not just a sort of short-term thinking kind of point of view. You've got to think for the long term as well. So I just feel like it would probably end up going to be Rob Holding and Gabriel. It just feels like that's a sensible decision. Unless Saliba's been training all week and no one known about it and it's been kept very much under wraps. So we'll wait and see. He did also add, which was good news, that Bukayo Saka is fully fit, 100% available after that bout of illness. Obviously, Saka started the game last weekend on the bench because he was sick. He did come on in the second half, so it's clearly nothing overly serious. But Mikel did confirm that he's now fully over that sickness bug and that he's fine to feature, which is great. And then that's going to leave Mikel with the big decision to make about who starts up front. You got, obviously, Jesus is back, scored 2 goals at the weekend. You got Leandro Trossard, who's just in fantastic form. And then you got the 2 wide players. So who's, 4 into 3 doesn't go, someone's going to have to miss out. And who's that going to be? Now, Trossard obviously has very good memories of playing at Anfield this season. He scored a hat-trick there for Brighton earlier in the year in that 3-3 draw. Mikel spoke about that, actually. He said, where is it? I did write it down. And I cannot find the quote, but he did speak about it. He said, it's great that you got a player who's got this great memory of Anfield and who has done it there this season, and that's a boost for Arsenal and it's a boost for Trossard. But it's just, what do you do then? Do you have here we go. I did write it down. It's great to have a player that has experienced something really nice and positive in that stadium. Leo is a crucial player that day, and that's what we need. Players with a lot of belief on that pitch who can go there and win. And that's quite a key thing there when he talks about players who have that belief, because there is a mental block when it comes to Arsenal at Anfield. They haven't won there in 12 years in the league, or 11 years in the league. It's been a disaster, basically. They go there, they get hammered year after year. It's not just a 1-0 defeat, it's a 3-0 defeat, 4-0 defeat, 5-0 defeat at times, or whatever it was. They've certainly conceded 5 there a couple of times. It's a horrible ground for Arsenal to go at. So there is this big mental block there. And if you've got a player like Trossard who doesn't have that same scar tissue that other Arsenal players have when it goes to Anfield, do you bring him in and do you play him? Do you leave one of the other guys out? I mean, I'd be surprised if you leave Jesus out. I just can't see it. He came back last week, scored 2 goals. I think he starts. So if you're going to leave someone out, it's going to be one of the wide players, and that's going to be Martinelli, because it's not going to be Bukayo Saka. He starts. So I think it's a choice between Trossard and Martinelli. I think it's going to be Martinelli, even though he's bigged up Trossard there. I think we're going to see the front three of Martinelli, Saka and Gabriel Jesus, and then you've got Trossard to come on off the bench if in the second half, which he certainly would do at some point, whether that be to play as a false 9 if Jesus still can't do 90 minutes, or it's to play on the left-hand side. But I just think, it's going to be interesting who does miss out, but I don't know. Can you see one of those three, the main three, missing out? I still think it's Trossard who would have to stay on the bench, but let me know. I've certainly saw comments earlier on in the week. I did a video talking about Trossard, and loads of you were saying he has to start at Anfield. He has to start. He's in form. So if he does start, who misses out? Let me know in the comments below. A lot of the press conference was sort of dominated a little bit by Arsenal's record at Anfield and the sort of, like I said, the scar tissue of previous visits there and the goals they've conceded, the games they've lost. And Mikel was very keen to point out, look, we've done this a few times in recent years. We've been to stadiums where we've been awful at and we've won. They did it at Old Trafford not long ago, ending that horrible run at Old Trafford. They went to Tottenham earlier this season. They won, ended that horrible run there. They did it at Chelsea recently, and now they've won at Chelsea 3 years in a row, I think it is, or 2 years in a row. And so he was very keen to point that out, that yes, we've been bad at Anfield in the past, but we have won at stadiums we've been bad at recently and ended that run. He said, we've been to stadiums where we haven't won in 17 years, 22 years, another was 18 years. So we are capable of doing it. We know we have to be at our very best to win the game, and certainly better than we were last year when we opened up and allowed Liverpool to attack open spaces in a really comfortable way in the second half. We'll have to be better than that, that's for sure. Now, Arsenal were bad in that game. They actually started well for 40 minutes last year, I remember. Then they conceded that goal, and then second half was just disaster territory as usual, typical Anfield performance. And they've got to learn from that, because you cannot go there and be open. This Liverpool team, yes, they're not in great form. They've really struggled away from home. We know that. But at Anfield, they're still strong. I think it's the third best home record this season behind Arsenal and Manchester City. So they're still a formidable force at Anfield. It's not like you're playing them away from home where they've only won 3 games all season. So Arsenal are going to have to deal with that, and they cannot leave big, wide open spaces. I do think, and I said about it in yesterday's video, that the midfield battle is going to be absolutely key. Interestingly, it looks like Thiago might be fit for Liverpool, and that could give them a little bit of the sort of control back in midfield that they've been missing of late. Whether he starts, I don't know, because he hasn't played recently, so maybe he starts on the bench. We'll have to wait and see. I'll talk a little bit about what Klopp had to say about team news in a minute, but if Thiago does come in, then that might make things a little bit harder for Arsenal in that midfield, just because you've got to play. He's not exactly athletic by any means, but he's very good on the ball. He doesn't waste possession too much, and he would just bring maybe a little bit more control to that midfield area Liverpool been lacking in recently. So that would be an interesting one, but I still think that midfield battle is the one to win, and if Arsenal can win that, then I think that's how they stand a good chance of winning this game at the weekend. This is what Mikel had to say about the title race at the moment. He said, we do enjoy it and we need to embrace it and go for it. This team is full of enthusiasm and positivity. We know we have a big challenge and a big opportunity to go to Anfield and do something we haven't done in many years. and win at a place that we haven't done for many, many years. They're a great team managed by a top manager, and they create an incredible atmosphere that makes it difficult for any opponent. We know that, and the opportunity is there for us to do something that we haven't done in a long time. That's what he's had to say about the trip to Anfield this weekend. I think, honestly, a massive part of this game is going to be about the mental side of things, because Arsenal are good enough to go and beat Liverpool. We know that. They've beaten them already this season. They've beaten Chelsea, they've beaten United, they've beaten Spurs home and away. They can beat this Liverpool side, no doubt about it. But I just think so often we've seen them crumble at Anfield, and it's definitely a big mental side of things. And that's what they need to sort out this weekend. If they can go there and be confident and just play the game they normally play, rather than being sucked into the whole atmosphere and the intensity of Anfield, then I think they can win this. I think they're the better team. They've shown it this season, they're the better team. So it's going to be really interesting to see how they approach it. Can they go there and play like they did at Tottenham in the away game in the North London derby, when they just walked into that atmosphere, didn't even batter an eyelid, just walked in, took the game to Tottenham from the first minute and absolutely dominated and showed how much better than they were. Can they do that again at Anfield this Sunday? If they can, then it would be a massive step forward in terms of the title race. Wouldn't be over by any means, but it would be a huge step forward. And the sort of the confidence boost it would give, the belief it would give ahead of those big tricky away games against City and Newcastle coming up would be absolutely huge as well. Quickly, this is what Liverpool boss Jurgen Klopp had to say. He said on team news, Virgil van Dijk is back in training. Obviously, he missed the game against Chelsea through illness at in midweek. So Virgil is back in training. Luis Diaz and Thiago are training completely normally. The plan for Louis is that he will be 100% available for Leeds. We will probably not involve him for Sunday. Thiago is slightly different and might be available. Now, is that mind games or not? I mean, it's been a long time since Luis Diaz has been out. Such a good player, Luis Diaz. He got injured, actually. I think it was the game at the Emirates, wasn't it? And the game changed when he got injured, actually, because Liverpool were on top, I thought, and he was causing real problems. But once he got injured, Arsenal took control of that game. Would you throw him straight back in against Arsenal when you've been out for that long? I don't know. Klopp certainly seems to suggest there that he won't, but he might be on the bench. We'll have to see. But, certainly a big boost for them ahead of the final games of the season if you do have Diaz and Thiago back. Thiago, like I said, I think that would be crucial for Liverpool's chances against Arsenal, just to have a little bit more control and quality in midfield than they have done in recent weeks. So we'll wait and see how that goes. But so that's the latest team news from Jurgen Klopp ahead of that game at the weekend. And that's it from me. Thank you very much for watching, everyone. Please do have a very good Friday night wherever you're watching this around the world, and have a great bank holiday weekend. Like I said earlier on in these videos during the week, I'm not at Anfield on Sunday. I'm going to be off for the next week. I'm on holiday, taking the kids on holiday for Easter. So you're not going to hear from me. Apologies for that. Some of you might be delighted, but some of you might not be, so apologies for that. And I'll be back after the West Ham game. But have a great Easter weekend, everyone. Have a great week. And fingers crossed for Sunday. Speak to you soon.